Hello, welcome to Capital Sensei. Let's talk a little about the 7 fundamental habits you can cultivate to build a powerful and enduring money mindset, a way of thinking that forms the very foundation of all lasting wealth. If you have ever wondered why some people seem to attract financial success while others struggle, the answer often lies not in their income, but in their perspective. We would love to hear about your own journey with money. So please feel free to share your thoughts, questions, or personal stories in the comments below. We make an effort to read and respond to all the comments we receive. We are going to explore 7 distinct mindset shifts that separate the wealthy from everyone else, and will delve into a particularly crucial idea: why the most common definition of financial success, the one pushed by society, is often a trap designed to keep you financially mediocre. The truth is, building wealth has far less to do with complex investing strategies and far more to do with rewiring the way you think about risk, failure, happiness, and the very purpose of money itself. A critical mistake that prevents millions from ever achieving financial independence is confusing income with wealth. You can earn a very high salary and still have a net worth of 0, or even be in massive debt. This happens when your spending rises to meet or exceed every pay raise you get, a phenomenon known as lifestyle inflation. True wealth is not about what you spend, but what you keep and what that remainder earns for you. It is built in the quiet moments of discipline, by creating a gap between your earnings and your expenses, and strategically putting that surplus to work. People who focus on looking rich rarely become truly wealthy. In contrast, those who focus on becoming wealthy often do not look rich. At least not in the conventional sense of flashy cars and designer clothes. They prioritize owning income-generating assets over owning status symbols. This subtle but profound shift in focus is the first major step toward building a real money mindset. The first habit to cultivate is a clear and unapologetic understanding that money can indeed buy happiness, but perhaps not in the way you think. A common and often misleading platitude is that money cannot buy happiness. While it's true that wealth alone does not guarantee fulfillment, it is equally true that a lack of money is a direct cause of immense stress, anxiety, and unhappiness. Financial instability can strain relationships, limit your life choices, and negatively impact your physical and mental health. The overwhelming consensus from countless successful individuals is that money solves the problems that are caused by a lack of money. It provides a foundation of security and freedom. It gives you the power to walk away from a toxic job, to leave an unhealthy relationship, to provide the best possible education and healthcare for your family, and to pursue work that you find meaningful without being solely driven by the need for a paycheck. It buys you options and autonomy. The crucial distinction is understanding money as a tool, not as the ultimate goal. The happiness it provides does not come from the accumulation of things, but from the experiences, security, and freedom it enables. Obsessing over money for its own sake is a path to misery. This kind of obsession creates a fragile emotional state where your happiness is tied to market fluctuations and your next financial gain. You experience intense joy when you succeed, but devastating sorrow when you fail. The healthy approach is to view money as a means to an end. The end is a life of your own design, filled with purpose, meaningful relationships, and personal growth. Money is simply one of the most effective tools for building that life. Therefore, do not be ashamed of your desire to earn and accumulate wealth. Your ambition to build a strong financial foundation is not greed. It is a rational desire for security, freedom, and the ability to care for yourself and your loved ones. The second and perhaps most liberating habit is to consciously give yourself permission to fail. From a very young age, our society and educational systems program us to fear failure. We are rewarded for correct answers and penalized for mistakes, taught that success is the only acceptable outcome. This conditioning creates a deep-seated fear that can paralyze us as adults. We become so afraid of the potential shame or judgment associated with failure that we choose inaction over action. We stay in jobs we dislike, we avoid starting the business we dream about, and we pass up on potentially life-changing investment opportunities. We prefer the certainty of mediocrity to the possibility of failure. However, allowing yourself to fail is a fundamental prerequisite for achieving significant success, especially in the financial realm. Wealth creation is inherently tied to taking calculated risks. When you remove the fear of failure from the equation, you unlock the ability to take those risks. The consequence you are truly afraid of is not the financial loss itself, but what other people will think of you. Once you internalize that their opinions have no real power over your life, you are free. Consider the story of a successful investor whose father gave him a small amount of money as a young man. His father's instruction was simple: start trading in the stock market. Whatever you make is yours to keep. If you lose all of it, that is perfectly fine. The lesson is what matters. This single act of giving him permission to fail completely reframed his relationship with risk. It taught him that the process of trying and learning was more valuable than the initial outcome. Without this mindset, you will never take the necessary leaps. You will not apply for the more challenging job. You will not switch careers to a field you are more passionate about. And you will not make the bold investments that have the potential for exponential growth. Start by reframing failure not as an endpoint, but as a data point. Each failure is a lesson in what does not work, bringing you one step closer to what does. So launch that side project, invest in that new skill, or move to a new city for a better opportunity. Calculate the true downside. Often, the worst-case scenario is far less catastrophic than your fear suggests. By embracing the possibility of failure, you open yourself up to a world of opportunity that remains invisible to those who are too afraid to try. The third transformative habit is to detach yourself from the outcome of your work. This is a profound concept with roots in ancient philosophy, yet it is one of the most practical principles for modern financial success. The idea is to pour all of your energy and focus into the quality of your input, the process of your work, rather than constantly worrying about the output, which is the money or reward you will receive at the end. When your mind is fixated on the outcome, your actions are often driven by anxiety and a desire for shortcuts. You become impatient, you might cut corners, and the quality of your work suffers. However, when you detach from the end result and dedicate yourself to excellence in the process, a remarkable shift occurs. Your focus becomes sharper, your creativity increases, and you produce work of a much higher caliber. Ironically, it is this dedication to a quality process that ultimately leads to the best possible outcomes. Consider an investor who is obsessed with the daily price movements of their stocks. Their decisions are emotional. They sell in a panic when the market dips and buy out of greed when it soars. Their focus is entirely on the outcome, the immediate profit or loss. Now, consider another investor who focuses on the process. Their process involves meticulous research, analyzing company fundamentals, understanding industry trends, and adhering to a disciplined investment strategy. They are detached from the daily market noise because they have confidence in their process. Over the long term, the process-driven investor will almost certainly achieve superior results. This principle applies to any endeavor. A business owner who focuses on creating an exceptional product and delivering outstanding customer service will build a more sustainable and profitable company than one who is solely focused on maximizing short-term profits. By focusing on the input, the quality of the output naturally improves. This mindset helps you build resilience as you derive satisfaction from the work itself, not just the external validation or financial reward it may bring. The fourth habit is to learn and operate by the concept of the inner scorecard, a principle famously articulated by Warren Buffett. The inner scorecard is a framework for self-assessment that is based on your own internal values and standards, rather than on external validation or society's definition of success. Society often measures success through an outer scorecard: the size of your house, the brand of your car, the price of your watch. This outer scorecard creates a relentless pressure to keep up with appearances, leading to a cycle of conspicuous consumption and lifestyle inflation. Living by an inner scorecard means you define success on your own terms. You ask yourself what truly brings you happiness and fulfillment, and you align your financial decisions with those answers. If driving a luxury car does not genuinely contribute to your well-being and only serves to impress others, the inner scorecard tells you it is a poor use of your resources. This mindset naturally leads to the single most important behavior for wealth creation: spending less than you earn. When you are not trying to win a game based on society's rules, you feel no pressure to spend on things that do not align with your personal values. This creates a surplus, the seed capital for your financial future. Warren Buffett himself is the ultimate example of this principle. Despite being one of the wealthiest individuals in history, he lives in the same house he bought in 1958 and is known for his frugal habits. His measure of success is internal. Did he act with integrity? Did he allocate capital intelligently? Did he learn something new today? By living by his inner scorecard, he has been able to compound his wealth to an unimaginable degree, free from the distractions of external expectations. Adopting an inner scorecard begins with self-reflection. You must define what success and a well-lived life mean to you, independent of what your neighbors, colleagues, or social media might suggest. Once you have this clarity, your financial decisions become simpler and more powerful. You stop trading money you have for things you do not need to impress people you do not like. Instead, you use your money as a tool to build a life that is authentically and meaningfully yours. The fifth habit, and one that requires a careful balance of audacity and prudence, is to always look for opportunities where the potential upside is exponentially greater than the downside. This is a common practice among the world's most successful investors and entrepreneurs. It is not about reckless gambling. It is about finding asymmetric opportunities. A binary outcome is often present in investing. An investment could fail, perhaps resulting in a 50% or even a total loss. But it could also succeed, potentially returning 10, 20, or even 100 times the initial investment. The wealthy mindset is trained to seek out these kinds of skewed risk-reward profiles. This involves thinking audaciously. When you analyze an opportunity, do not just consider the most likely outcome. Force yourself to imagine the best-case scenario, no matter how ambitious it may seem. What if this small company truly disrupts its industry? What if this new technology becomes the global standard? By working with the assumption that a massive upside is possible, you build a thesis around that potential. This forces you to do deeper research and identify the key factors that could lead to such exponential growth. At the same time, you must rigorously assess and limit your downside. The key is that the potential loss must be acceptable and survivable. You should never risk an amount of money that would cripple you financially if the investment fails. This is the essence of calculated risk-taking. You make many small, calculated bets, knowing that most may not work out, but the one or two that do will generate returns that far outweigh all the small losses combined. This approach requires courage and a long-term perspective. It means being willing to look wrong in the short term and to go against conventional wisdom. Most people are drawn to safe, predictable returns. The wealth-building mindset understands that extraordinary returns require an extraordinary and often contrarian viewpoint. Cultivate the habit of asking, "What if it works?" with the same intensity that you ask, "What if it fails?" By doing so, you will begin to see opportunities where others only see risk. The sixth habit is to consciously shift your time and energy from consumption to creation. There is a fundamental distinction between the activities that build wealth and those that deplete it. The wealthiest and most productive people spend the vast majority of their time engaged in acts of creation. This does not necessarily mean creating a physical product. Creation can take many forms. Building a business, developing a new skill, writing, conducting research, learning a complex subject, or building a valuable professional network. These activities are investments. They build your human capital and your financial capital. Consumption, on the other hand, is largely a passive activity that drains your two most valuable resources, your time and your money. This includes activities like mindlessly scrolling through social media, binge-watching television series, or shopping for non-essential items. While recreation and relaxation are necessary, a life dominated by consumption is a life that is financially stagnant. Studies consistently show a strong correlation between wealth and how people spend their free time. One well-known survey found that the vast majority of wealthy individuals watch less than 1 hour of television per day and spend that saved time reading for self-improvement. People who build real, lasting wealth understand that their time is an asset. They are deliberate about how they allocate it. Instead of consuming entertainment, they create value. Instead of buying liabilities, they build assets. To cultivate this habit, start by auditing your time. For 1 week, track how you spend every hour of your day. The results may be surprising. Identify the pockets of time that are spent on low-value consumption and consciously reallocate them to high-value creation. This could mean replacing 1 hour of television with 1 hour of reading a book on investing, or substituting time on social media with time spent working on a side project or learning a new software. The shift from a consumer mindset to a creator mindset is one of the most powerful levers you can pull on your journey to financial freedom. The seventh and final habit is to adopt first principles thinking. This is a mental model for deconstructing complex problems and challenges down to their most fundamental, basic truths, and then reasoning up from there. Instead of relying on conventional wisdom, analogies, or the way things have always been done, you question every assumption from the ground up. This method, famously used by innovators like Elon Musk, is incredibly powerful when applied to personal finance. Most people make financial decisions based on analogy. They might say, "Everyone is buying a house, so I should buy a house. Or, my financial advisor recommends this mutual fund, so it must be a good investment. They are accepting pre-packaged conclusions without understanding the underlying principles. First principles thinking forces you to break the problem down. Let's take the decision of buying a house. Instead of starting with the assumption that buying is always better than renting, you would start with fundamental questions. What is the basic purpose of housing? It is to provide shelter. What are the fundamental financial components involved? There is the cost of capital, property taxes, maintenance, insurance, and potential appreciation. What are the fundamental truths about the local real estate market, interest rates, and my own career stability? By reasoning from these basic elements, you might conclude that, for your specific situation and current market conditions, renting and investing the difference in the stock market is a mathematically superior decision. Or you might conclude the opposite. The key is that the conclusion is yours, built from a solid foundation of logic, not borrowed from someone else's analogy. Elon Musk used this approach to revolutionize the aerospace industry. Instead of accepting the high cost of rockets as a given, he asked, "What are the fundamental materials a rocket is made of?" He found that the raw material costs were only a tiny fraction of the final price. The rest was due to inefficient manufacturing processes and established industry practices. By rethinking every component from first principles, he was able to drastically reduce production costs. You can apply this to any financial decision. Before taking on debt, ask, what is the fundamental nature of debt? It is paying a premium to have something now instead of later. Is the utility I gain from having it now greater than the total cost of the interest I will pay? This way of thinking helps you see through the fog of marketing, social pressure, and conventional wisdom, allowing you to make clear, logical, and highly effective financial choices.